Among all of Jesus' words about the end times, there is one single verse that holds the key to the rapture. A verse so clear, yet so overlooked, that almost no one has grasped its power. What if I told you this secret is right before our eyes, hidden in plain sight, and it could change everything you think about the rapture? While many argue over dates, theories, and interpretations, Jesus left a simple, direct, and transformative phrase. This single verse doesn't speak of calculations or predictions, but points to the posture that determines who will be ready when the Son of Man returns. And the most astonishing part, most Christians still pass over it without giving it the attention it deserves. Today, you will discover what this verse is, what it truly means, and how it can prepare your life for the greatest moment in history. Stay with me until the end, because you're about to understand something that few preachers explain, but that can change the way you live your faith. If you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss the upcoming videos. Also, leave your like and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. The Mount of Olives became the stage for one of the most solemn moments in Jesus' ministry. There, before his anxious disciples, he spoke about the signs of the end, about persecutions, and about the judgment to come. While the crowd sought predictions of dates and spectacular events, the Master looked deeper into the human heart, into the kind of faith that would stand firm amidst the storms. This setting was not just geographical, but spiritual. The Mount became an eternal pulpit from which words would echo into our time. The disciples wanted immediate answers. When will the end come? When will we see the promises fulfilled? Human anxiety remains the same to this day. We seek calendars, try to decipher signs, and long for certainty. But Jesus didn't offer a timetable. He offered a call to watchfulness, an invitation to inner preparation. The real focus wasn't on the calculations, but on the posture of those who remain steadfast in the face of uncertainty. This lesson transcends generations, showing that the essential thing is not to know the when, but to be ready for the how. When speaking of persecutions, difficult times, and trials, Jesus wasn't trying to frighten his followers. On the contrary, he was showing that the path of faith has never been paved with ease. Persecution would be a test, not of weakness, but of the authenticity of faith. With every word, the Master was preparing his disciples and us to face the weight of history without losing hope. Judgment wasn't just a distant threat, but a reality that demanded awareness in the present. After all, how can one long for the Lord's coming if the heart is not ready to receive him? The prophetic discourse revealed a constant tension, the human thirst for predictions and the divine call for transformation. This tension is a mirror for us. How often do we prefer external signs when the real sign is the state of our soul? On the Mount, Jesus showed that it wasn't enough to observe earthquakes, wars, or rumors of crises. What would truly matter was watchfulness, living faith, constant prayer. He pointed inward to the inner temple, where each person must be awake. And it's in this context that the great key, so often unnoticed, emerges. Among so many words about the future, there is one verse that rises like a beacon. A verse that, more than predicting, teaches us how to live. A forgotten verse that holds the secret of the rapture. What is this phrase of Jesus that could change our entire perspective? Among so many of Jesus' words about the end, there is one verse that stands as a beacon in the darkness. It's found in Luke 21:36. Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Dune, this short phrase holds within it a profound secret. Jesus didn't give a complicated formula, nor did he reveal hidden calculations. He left a direct, simple, and eternal call. Watch, pray, stand firm. It's as if the entire weight of preparation for the rapture is concentrated in these few words. Each term carries a universe of meaning. Watch is not merely opening your eyes, but being alert, awake, and sober toward life. Those who watch are not deceived by distraction, are not intoxicated by the world's illusions, are not numbed by indifference. It's like a soldier keeping guard through the night, even when everything seems calm. Pray is the second call. Prayer not as a formality, but as the soul's breath, as constant dialogue with God. Jesus shows that to watch without praying is to watch in vain, and to pray without watching is to pray without purpose. Then he adds that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass. This is no promise of an easy life, but a reminder that difficult times will come. To escape is not to flee in cowardice, but to be preserved by the hand of God amid the chaos. It is not a human merit, but divine grace that reaches those who remain in watchfulness and prayer. This expression also serves as a warning. Not all will escape, but only those who choose a firm posture before the Lord. Finally, the greatest promise, to stand before the Son of Man. This is the goal, the destiny, the final point of all spiritual effort. To stand before him does not only mean to survive the end times, but to be ready to look into the eyes of the eternal Judge with confidence. It's the final scene of a race where the faithful do not arrive defeated, but stand firm, upheld by faith. This image is powerful. Standing before the Son of Man not as desperate defendants, but as vigilant servants, receiving the embrace of eternity. And all of this is summed up in a single sentence, a verse that many read in haste without realizing the hidden treasure. A verse Jesus left as a key, not to satisfy curiosity, but to shape lives. If this is the secret of the rapture, the great question is, how can we live out this watchfulness and prayer in a world full of distractions? That is the question that leads us directly into the next chapter, where we'll see the contrast between those who are trapped by life's burdens and those who choose to keep their eyes fixed above. When Jesus revealed the key verse, he also gave a profound warning. Many would have their hearts weighed down by anxieties, pleasures, and the distractions of this life. It's astonishing how his words transcend centuries and describe exactly what we see today. The human heart, when burdened, loses spiritual sensitivity. The mind becomes preoccupied with daily concerns, debts, illness, fear of the future, and all of this becomes like invisible chains that bind the soul. At the same time, fleeting pleasures and constant distractions cause many to forget about eternity. This double weight, worries and pleasures, steals watchfulness, draws attention away from what is eternal, and plunges a person into spiritual slumber. Watchfulness, however, is the exact opposite of this apathy. To watch is to remain awake even when the whole world sleeps. It is to keep the flame burning in the heart when everything around turns to darkness. Jesus calls us to live with eyes wide open, not as those who wander aimlessly, but as those who know that each moment can be decisive. Watchfulness protects us from life's invisible traps because it opens the eyes of the soul to perceive what many cannot see. It is the state of someone walking soberly, aware of life's brevity and the urgency of being prepared. And here comes prayer, not as an empty ritual, but as the breath of the soul. Prayer is like the constant breathing of the Spirit, the unbroken connection between man and God. When we pray, even in the midst of battles, we are reminded that we are not alone. Prayer keeps the heart clean, the mind awake, and faith alive. It is a spiritual secret that prevents the weights of life from drowning us. That is why Jesus doesn't separate watchfulness and prayer. He joins them as two wings that sustain the believer's life. To watch without praying is empty vigilance. To pray without watching is religiosity without practice. Together, they become strength to resist. This contrast is the dividing line between two groups, those who live weighed down by distractions and those who remain sober before God. The first group will be caught by surprise, suffocated by the cares of daily life. The second group, though surrounded by tribulations, will have peace because they remain connected to heaven. It's like the difference between a drifting boat carried by the waves and a ship that, even in a storm, keeps its rudder steady toward the harbor. This image shows the seriousness of Jesus' words. It is not possible to serve two masters. It is not possible to watch and at the same time be lost in the distractions of the world. And thus the contrast becomes clear. On one side, heavy hearts, drowned in pleasures and worries. On the other, watchful hearts, sustained by prayer. Jesus did not leave this warning to frighten, but to awaken. For the rapture will not be a distant accident, but a reality for those who choose to live with eyes wide open. And the great question that arises now is, what exactly does this verse imply when we speak of the rapture? How do these words shape our hope and our responsibility in the face of the end? When Jesus said, "Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape," he was not merely speaking of surviving trials. He was pointing to something greater. The rapture is not an isolated event, but a call to readiness. It's not just about being taken from the world in an instant, but about being prepared for that encounter with Him. The expression, "to be counted worthy to escape," reveals the seriousness of this preparation. It's not about human merit, but about one's posture before God. It means living in such a way that, when the trumpet sounds, we are not found distracted, but alert. Jesus makes it clear that curiosity about the future is not what prepares us. It's a daily life of watchfulness and prayer. Here the parable of the 10 virgins gains even greater weight. All were waiting for the bridegroom, but only 5 had enough oil. The oil symbolizes this watchfulness, this life of prayer that keeps the lamp burning. It's not enough to have heard the message. It's necessary to be filled with the Spirit, awake to the call. The rapture is for the prepared, not for the distracted. Thus, the verse in Luke is not just devotional advice, it is an eschatological key. It shows that escaping the coming judgment and standing before the Son of Man depends on the posture we choose today. It's as if Jesus were saying, "Don't be bound to time. Live ready at all times." But an inevitable question arises. How do we put this key into practice? How can we live this watchfulness in our daily lives amidst the pressures, worries, and temptations of the modern world? To watch and pray is not merely a spiritual theory, but a lifestyle. It means waking up each day aware that life is not limited to the concerns of the moment. It's living with an awakened heart, like someone expecting an important guest at any moment. The practice begins in the small details, the way we speak, the way we act, the willingness to forgive. Each choice reveals whether we are ready or asleep. Constant prayer doesn't mean endlessly repeating words, but cultivating a life of communion. It's about turning simple moments into opportunities to talk with God. In the silence of the morning, on the way to work, in the middle of house chores, the soul finds refuge in prayer. It's like keeping the lamp always lit, fueled by fresh oil. Whoever prays like this keeps the heart clean and the mind awake. Another practice is diving into the reading of Scripture. The Word becomes food for faith and light for the path. Without this daily contact, watchfulness weakens and the heart loses sensitivity. It's not just studying out of curiosity, but reading with a desire to hear God's voice. On every page, we find direction, comfort, and strength to endure. The Bible becomes the inseparable companion of those who await the rapture. It's also essential to cultivate moments of silence and reflection. In a world full of noise and distractions, pausing before God is an act of watchfulness. Silence creates space to hear the Spirit, to discern what is eternal amid the temporary. This simple discipline strengthens faith and renews hope. In solitude, the heart moves away from the weights of life and prepares for the Lord's return. Finally, practical watchfulness is expressed through actions, loving, forgiving, serving, living in holiness. The rapture will not be for the distracted, but for the attentive. Being ready is more than expectation. It is a daily decision to live for God. But then an inevitable question arises. If everything depends on this watchfulness and posture, what did Jesus mean by leaving this key in a single sentence? In light of everything we've heard, it becomes clear that Jesus left the key to the rapture in a single phrase: watch and pray always. This image is powerful. It's not spectacular signs, but the posture of the heart that determines eternal destiny. Like a narrow door that few perceive, this verse reminds us that being ready doesn't depend on calculations, but on watchfulness and prayer. And if the rapture were today, would your life reflect watchfulness or distraction? Would your lamp be full of oil, like the wise virgins, or empty, like the foolish ones? These questions are not merely rhetorical, they are invitations to examine the heart. For the Son of Man will come like a thief in the night, and only the prepared will stand before him. Picture this scene: the heavens in silence, the trumpet sounding, and thousands rising to meet the Lord in the air. Some doors closing, others opening, and the throne of the eternal judge being set. This is the promise, but also the warning. It is not a time for speculation, but for decision. Jesus' invitation continues to echo: watch, pray, and live ready. So if this message spoke to your heart, leave your comment, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss the upcoming videos. Your support is very important. Like this video so more people can receive this word as well. And above all, reflect. What would you do if the rapture happened today? May God bless your life and strengthen your faith every day.